Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to make these easy and cute backpacks. I make these all the time as gifts and even sell them occasionally on my Etsy shop. You'll want to use a thicker weight material like a canvas for these bags, and you'll need about 1.5 meters, plus some material for the lining if you'd like to add it. My husband found me this beautiful fabric while he was out thrifting a few weeks ago, and I think it's the perfect material for a backpack like this. I've included all the measurements for the backpack here, so you can just pause the video and jot it down. Some other things that you'll need are 2 buttons, some type of cord, a bead, alternatively you could use a cord lock if you have one, and 2 6-inch pieces of elastic. I'm using some from an old mask. Okay, so start by ironing out your fabric to get all the creases out before you cut. I like to store all my patterns in envelopes, and I usually draw a little picture on the front of what they are just to keep things organized. Now to cut the pieces out. If you're using a pattern fabric like me, you might want to line up the fabric so that the pattern matches. I usually don't worry too much about the sides and the bottom, but for the flaps and the pouch, I like to have the pattern line up. Take your 2 big flap and 2 small flap pieces, iron them out again if needed, and pin them right sides together. Using a regular straight stitch and a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, sew these pieces, leaving the top open. Once sewn, turn the pieces right side out and iron flat. You're then going to turn the top seam in about 3/8 of an inch, iron it flat, and pin it. Now fold the flap in half and mark it with a pin where you want your buttonhole to be. Do the exact same thing for the large flap. Attach your buttonhole maker if you have one. And you'll also have to remove any cats from your sewing table. Sorry, Fern. Take it slow when adding buttonholes because they're really annoying to take out if you mess up. Use your hands to guide the fabric, but don't push or pull it. A tip that I've mentioned before is to pin the top of your buttonhole so you don't overcut it. Now to sew the front pouch. Iron a 1/4 inch seam on each side of the pouch. The top seam you will want to fold over again and iron. We're going to top stitch just the top seam. Now line up the pouch with your front piece and pin it in place. Stitch the pouch to the front of the bag. Now we're going to top stitch the small flap just above the pouch, matching up the fabric pattern if needed. Now hand sew your button on. The next step is the side bottle holders. Iron a 1/2 inch seam, then fold it over again and iron. Sew these seams, then we're going to string the elastic through and pin it in place. Using a zigzag stitch, stitch the elastic in place about 3/8 of an inch from the edge. Pin the bottle holders to the side pieces of the backpack. You'll have to fold the fabric inwards a bit on the bottom. Sew together using a straight stitch and a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now take your strap pieces and pin each piece together at the seam. Sew together using an overlock stitch and turn the fabric right side out and iron it flat. Place the straps about 2 inches from the bottom of the backpack and pin the side pieces to the back. Sew together using an overlock stitch. Pin the front of the bag to the sides and sew, still using an overlock stitch. Now pin the bottom piece to the bag and sew. This can be a little bit tricky to line up. If you decided to make a bag lining, now is the time to add it. Turn the inside out and put it inside the bag, pinning it together at the top seam. I use a basting stitch here to keep the lining in the bag from shifting. Fold a 3/8 of an inch seam and iron, then fold over 1 inch and iron. I'm using a ruler here to keep mine exact. Sew this seam with a regular straight stitch. Mark out your buttonholes for the drawstring. There will be 8 total and they are about 4 inches apart. Try to avoid placing the buttonholes directly on a seam. You'll notice I didn't leave a measurement for the backpack loop. I usually end up making this piece out of fabric scraps left after cutting the pattern. It's about 3 inches wide and 6 inches long. Make it the same way we made the straps, then pin it to the middle of the big flap with the straps pinned to either side. Baste this seam closed. We're going to do what's called a stitch in the ditch here. Pin the big flap to the back of the bag, taking care to ensure you are stitching just under the seam where the buttonholes are, and as well lining up on the other side. Seam rip all of your buttonholes open if you haven't done so already. Now cut a 50-inch piece of cord for your drawstring. Sew your last button on and you're all done.